Welcome to the Success Partner Podcast. I'm Daya Naef, your host and founder of The Success Partner. On this show, we dive into the stories of attorneys, business professionals, and entrepreneurs who have navigated the ups and downs of building successful careers and businesses. From the strategies they've implemented to the challenges they've overcome, we're here to uncover the insights that can help you on your own journey to success. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Welcome back, everybody, to today's episode of the Success Partner Podcast. I have with me Melissa Peterkin Sullivan. She's got an exciting career background. I can't wait to learn more about her. So, Melissa, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. Right now, I am doing consulting for a few various clients in marketing and operations. And I got there from how I got there, I guess, is I spent quite a few years in entertainment and operations and the toy industry before moving into the creator economy. And as I was getting involved in all of those platforms and industries, as I moved from company to company, I started getting a lot of past colleagues and past employers calling and asking for help with things that I had done previously. It's entertainment, so it was usually related to an event or a specific project. And so I started doing some side work because it wasn't conflicting with my job at an agency at the time. And eventually the amount of requests for these side fun, experiential entertainment related projects started to really take up a lot of time. And I ended up becoming a consultant for those and leaving my agency role.
Awesome. About when was that?
It was at the end of 2023. So I've been doing full-time consulting specifically for all of 2024. So I'm now heading into my second year, which is kind of fun. It's kind of exciting. Yeah.
No, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Who do you like to work with? Who was like one of your favorite clients or projects?
You know, I feel like I'm a bit spoiled because I've worked in entertainment for so long. So I can name, there's like the glitz and the glamour of various production companies and working directly with social media companies. So I've really enjoyed working with people at like Google and YouTube. And then toys, I've got kids. And so when I was in the toy industry, like working with toys just because it directly affects kids is so much fun. So I'd say toy brands and entertainment brands. And then CPG is becoming a lot of fun to work with, mainly just because retail has changed so drastically in the last few years, certainly since COVID, but just with different innovations in digital and creators and how people are reaching consumers these days. Working with mid-sized brands who are really looking to break through to become, become in the top of what they do. It's been a lot of fun to watch them on that journey.
Yeah. Do you have a success story where you could share one of those?
Sure. Yeah, no, I was at a toy company for a while where the main brands were LOL, or not the main brands, but some of the brands were, and I don't know how recognizable they are. Little Tikes, which has been around for decades. I think everyone remembers the Cozy Coupe, Rainbow High, LOL Surprise. And we really revolutionized how, there's these brand stores on Amazon and Target and Walmart that allow you to sell not just the toys as individual items, but the brand as a whole, which was kind of a bit revolutionary, mainly new because up until COVID, everybody those particular Amazon aside, but like Target and Walmart were used to people coming into their stores. And as people were not able to go out as much, and toys are luckily a recession-proof industry. Everybody needs their toys for their kids, right? That's what you're going to you're not going to sacrifice that when you have to sacrifice other things. But in order to reach the consumers and make buying feel like such an experience, because toys in particular are something you walk down the aisle, you kind of watch the eyes light up, or, even the parents, if you're buying for a gift, there's something special about going through that aisle and picking out what you think is going to be the perfect toy. And so to get that to translate online, we ended up building out what we called celebration stores for these brands, which helped bring people in and create a retail experience online, as opposed to just clicking a button or being taken directly to a specific item. Because one of the things with retail online is it's great if you know what you want, but it's not, we're making strides in terms of how you browse and how things are presented to you, especially if there's no sponsored advertising behind it. that's making it be put in front of you. So we put those together, or we built out some celebration stores for a few of the brands, Rainbow High, Little Tikes, LOL Surprise, and created all of these aisles that I would say retail aisles. So again, if you're walking down the toy aisle or you're walking down a different aisle, maybe it's a themed birthday aisle or something like that, to be able to find the that you would find in physical store. And we put that together virtually. And the sales increase that we found, I mean, some of our sales were being bumped up by 40, 50, 60% in some cases over the course of a few months. Again, it was a seasonal thing. So we were actually heading into a busy season, but just the correlation between browsing versus people knowing exactly what they were looking for was pretty cool. And then we ended up winning one of the brands. We actually ended up winning an award for best retail experience. This was about 2 or 3 years ago, but that was a story I'm pretty proud of. And that now I've seen more and more stores start to pop up and doing that in the digital space for retail to help boost online sales compared to when you don't have the browsing experience that you have by walking into a store.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. When you think you're looking for something, you don't know what the exact something is, and if it's not like the name brand, like the
right, or
must-have.
yeah, exactly, or not even that. But if I've heard about this brand, but I'm not sure, and you know that they have a car, but you don't know that they have a scooter. These but the scooter is really what you wanted. You just didn't know that they had it. These stores are actually a great way to be able to push different product that maybe people just don't know about. Like Crayola sells crayons, but that Crayola actually sells a whole bunch of other colored pencils, markers, and crayons that they, and people don't necessarily go searching for that. This is a great way to be able to bring that to people.
Yeah, how people think and how it's a lot of psychology involved in
and
it.
How they shop. It's actually quite fascinating.
Wow, cool. Tell me a little bit about creator economy leadership.
Yeah. So the creator economy is it's not new. It's been around for a while, but definitely really exploding in the last couple of years. So that it's really influencers, the idea of influencers on YouTube and really any other social platform, and really any platform. It doesn't have to be social. If you think about television, like there's definitely, I call the Kardashians influencers. They are on social, but even if they only did what they were doing on television, they're influencers, right? They influence buying decisions that people make. And so it's really an emerging platform and way for brands to connect with influencers to then reach the audiences and reach consumers, right? Because if you think about the days where product placement or brand ambassadorship, where you might pay a celebrity $20 million, show their lipstick or show that they're drinking some sort of beverage, right? Yep, that can be effective, but $20 million worth, how do you measure how many people are actually going and wearing that lipstick or buying that brand of soda? Whereas with influencer marketing, our creators, as they're called now, but with creators, they really have their trusted circle of followers, right? Might aspirationally look up to a celebrity, and so they might buy that lipstick. But if you think about people that you follow on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, there is this psychological, like you feel like you know them. They're part of your group. They're part of your community. So when they say something or they recommend something, there's already an added level of trust. So brands are now starting to see a much bigger connection between a creator doing something for their product as more so than, say, product placement from years ago. So I feel like if you think about advertising and the evolution of advertising, when we went from print to radio to television to commercials to product placement within television because people were fast forwarding through the commercials and so on and so forth. Even digital advertising, if you think about the ads that you see at the top of the page, and when there used to be takeovers and all this other stuff, digital, I want to say it was about 15 to 20 years ago, went from a nice to have, everybody was still buying on air, to a must buy. You had to buy digital. Otherwise you were behind the times because everybody was online. I'd say in the next 3 to 5 years, the creator economy is on the cusp of being a must buy. More and more brands are waking up to it. You get a better bang for your buck with going after these nuanced targets, right? Versus casting a wide net and seeing what sticks. So the advertising industry and creators in general, or brands in general, are just getting more efficient with how they spend their money by doing it through creators. So it's a pretty small space. It's like I said, it's been around for a bit, but it's really just exploding in the last 3 to 5 years. So it's a pretty small world, but it is the next wave. So the next future, it's the future of advertising.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You're right there in it.
And right there in it. Yeah. In fact, CES is going on right now or about to start in Vegas, actually. And for the first year, they have a creator track. And a lot of those bigger brands, Forbes did their creator upfronts for the first time last year. So you can see just how much it's being disruptive in the world right now. And more brands are starting to catch on. So it's an exciting time to be in that.
Yeah. So if I were listening to this and I were your next potential client, like who am I?
Oh, I mean, anyone and everyone, right? I mean, if we're talking specifically about the creator economy, I mean, I'd say, if you were listening to this and you were looking to get beyond programmatic or just your standard digital ads, or looking to get to find, or you're trying to reach a nuanced audience, we should talk. Right. So again, I had gone back to that level of trust that people have versus, do you pay a celebrity? Do you throw an ad, outside of the Super Bowl, how many people are watching ads at this point, right? Do you throw an ad and just hope somebody sees it and hope that they buy your product? Or would you reach out to somebody who somebody considers a friend, says, hey, like you should, and there's checks and balances in the system, because an influencer or creator who has spent however many years or months or however many hours creating content that they're hoping people are going to watch organically, they also have to be careful about who they pair up with. They're not going to just tout every product that's out there. They're going to want to make sure they believe in that product because their reputation is on the line. It's a little bit different than product placement where you just pay for it. It's there and that's it. You get what you pay for. But brands are really starting, if they can get in right, again, like if you think about a runner who that runner says, they spend all these posts talking about running, and then one of their posts talks about maybe the brand of shoes that they wear when they run, because something related to their expertise in running, right? Their feet do this or they don't do that, or it makes them feel this way. Or maybe the athletic gear that they wear when they go running because it doesn't stick to the body, whatever the case. I'm not a runner. I run when chased, but but whatever the case is, like now it's a lot more, you're a lot more compelled to buy, right? Because you trust the person because they're an expert in that space, as well as, like I said, you already think that you're part of that community, and so you already have that added level of trust. They would use the product themselves, hopefully, because again, their reputation is on the line. So they're not just going to be promoting every product that comes their way. So there's just a lot. So any product that's looking to kind of carve out that target audience and really go after that audience they're much more willing to convert. So, it could be anybody. Even the big brands are still really getting into the creator economy.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's you feel so connected to people, and it's like people, they're literally letting you into their life. They're
absolutely.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
It feels more conversational versus somebody just talking to you from the TV.
Yes, the beautiful person with this is the makeup I wear.
That's exactly right.
They're actually like putting it on, and you're like, what? Yeah. So I work a lot in the legal industry, and lawyers, they're always very squeamish to try something new.
Yeah.
So when coming out with something like this, I don't know, some have really jumped in lately with different types of marketing. I know they're on TikTok and doing funny things. I'm just trying to see how to bridge that.
Yeah, no, even that, it's funny. I always say whenever I go to take on a new client, or even when I was at a company, at a specific company, I'm going to new companies, the two departments I made my best friends were the legal department and the finance department, right? Because I needed the money. And then I knew the justification for spending that money being in marketing. So no, I actually legal wise, it was always super fascinating because there was all these precedents that came up in terms of what they were spending and where were we protected and where were we not. So actually, like, I spent so much time working with the legal department to talk about what was compliant, what wasn't, the disclaimers in terms of what was allowed and what you could get away with saying, right? Because now you have to disclose whether or not something's sponsored or not, and so on and so forth. And then picking apart, like understanding and flagging cases when they came about, right? Like I remember this one case that I spent a lot of time working with one of the lawyers on. This goes back to the celebrity days, but a celebrity was caught coming out of Dwayne Reed with a bag and the paparazzi. And so is it fair use because they're a public figure? And so because they tried to sue saying that they were photographed carrying a Dwayne Reed bag, which is what they were because they just came out of that store. But was anyone trying to say that they were endorsing Dwayne Reed? So all of that precedent kind of comes into from a legal perspective, just like the different things that they have to think about in terms of putting together like all of this stuff in order for a creator, like the amount of work that is put into legal wise for a creator to post with a brand where a brand feels like they're indemnified, that they have all the, that they're protected, but that they have the brand's best interest at heart is actually quite a lot of work. So out of everyone, I mean, outside of the team that's negotiating and managing the creators in this space, I'd say one of the next groups to be the most involved is the legal team for sure, because you have to do the contracts between the brand and the agency and the creator and the brand, and bridge all of those gaps. And then again, like it's a lot of back and forth between everything from fees down to what is said at what point in the conversation, that things are being said, and then making sure that those deliverables are met and that it's compliant with the FTC and the FCC, but depending on the product, because then when you get pharma, like there's all these different things that come into play. So it's actually, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm actually quite fascinated. Like some of those, my favorite conversations have been with a lot of the legal teams, kind of, okay, what can we get away with? Like, where do we ride that line of like, how disruptive can we be, but still stay compliant? So we're covered.
Yeah, it's very, very nuanced. And you think about like some celebrities when they do something that's off brand, like their contract gets pulled in a second.
Yeah, well, certainly lately, it used to be that they were almost invincible. And now lately, I think that they're definitely getting called out a little bit more. So they're definitely having to be more careful, which I think in some ways is a good checks and balance, right? There's definitely people that are trusting and are easily influenced by people. And so that level of trust, that level of, if the price tag is high enough and there's people who are just willing to say whatever and people can end up with bad product, that's not a win for anybody. But like I said, just the fact going through, again, making sure everything's compliant with the legal teams, plus the creators having their reputation on the line, because like you said, everything is like everything's on brand until something isn't on brand, right? And so there's a lot of product that the creators sometimes have to hopefully ethically,
Sure.
they would turn away from because they're like, no, this is not on brand for me. And so it's an inherent checks and balances just in terms of like what they're willing to sell and what they aren't. When you hear the term like who's willing to sell their soul, what you're finding is because fans are fickle. I mean, they just really are, and so you have to protect your reputation, because at the end of the day, if your profession is an influencer, your followers are in some ways all you have. And if they abandon you, you got to start all over again.
To recreate yourself and start back from the very beginning.
And you're not sure what hits. I mean, also like the idea of the content that hit, the organic content and the branded content that hits. You never know. I mean, there's some creators who will spend hours or years, creating a piece of content a week, and 2 years later they do something, and that for whatever reason, that's the piece that goes viral. Everything else before that, they got some views, great, but so it's really fascinating to kind of see what works and what doesn't. Yeah. And as a creator, you have to be protective of that because that's your livelihood.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that and showing us a little peek under the hood in what's going on in the advertising world. How do people get a hold of you if they want to learn more?
Well, they can find me on LinkedIn, and email and text. I feel like are kind of certainly the ways that creators communicate at this point. But I'm available. Would love to chat.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'll put your information in the show notes as well.
Thank you.
Because this is going to be a fun and interesting episode of our show. So again, this has been the Success Partner Podcast. We had Melissa Peterkin Sullivan on here today telling us some things about the creator economy and having a background in entertainment and toys. I mean, how exciting is that? So stay tuned. I'm Daya Naef, your host. This is the Success Partner Podcast, and stay tuned.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us on the Success Partner Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation and found some valuable takeaways to apply to your own business journey. Remember, this show is brought to you by The Success Partner, where we help small law firms and business owners achieve unparalleled success through strategic guidance, operational excellence, and effective marketing. If you're ready to take your business to the next level, visit thesuccesspartner.net to learn more. Until next time, keep striving for success, and I will see you in the next episode.